This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and it is Tuesday, April 4th, 2023. Turnaround Tuesday, question mark. I appreciate all the love, support, the involvement in the channel. It is always appreciated. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. Let me get a quick mic check and we will jump into it. Hopefully you're having a wonderful day. And remember, it is Tuesday. The holy day of the market turnarounds, potentially. Especially first and last 3 business days of the month. Apologize, chewing on a little protein bar. Just want to make sure we're good. Got some people involved because I think this is going to be one of those videos where I posted on Twitter earlier. If you saw this. Oh, Dogecoin. Check this out. Something is off about the markets. The inflection point is upon us. Tuesday at 10:15. Go bookmark and go look at what the market did right then. Everything went nuts. Like algorithms started spinning algorithms. Market reactions started spinning other market reactions. Like in metals, gold, dollar, bonds, IYT, materials. Some stuff went haywire. Hence my thinking that might be it. That might be it. Trump to Jesus. Jesus Christ. Okay, yeah. Always curious to see what's trending on Twitter. I get one mic check. I don't have a single one yet. So before I start rambling, just want to double check. Go, you dirty dogs. Mike is good. Awesome. I appreciate it. Again, if you're hanging out, check out the website, trying to update it, give more alerts, a lot more content in time. If you want, sign up for the mailing list. I'm not sure exactly what I'll send out yet. I have thoughts. Again, I just don't want to spam people daily like a lot of other people with crap. So it would only be for things that I think are important. That might be relative to trading and updating of what's going on. So sorry for crunch on the protein bar, but I got to get it in now. I'm probably going to be here for an hour and a half. So get comfortable. I appreciate everybody. So back to, I guess, jobs data. JOLTS number showed a steep decline in job openings by 1 million. Something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Look what the Fed Fund futures went from. Remember the last couple days, it's been 50, 60 rate hike. I mean, it dropped about, you do the math, 20-something% plus on that number. Now, I've been trying to warn people. The TLT should point the way. Remember, Feds are raising rates, interbank lending rate. They're trying to push, take liquidity out. There's a credit crunch, as I've said, coming. Bigger, much bigger than what people anticipate. Feds want people to buy bonds, just like they did in 2008, just so they can start the liquidity game, right? Because if they're going to do, what I consider stimulus, especially government stimulus. I'm not talking about Feds. I'm talking about like the actual Fed, like government gets out there and goes, hey, we want to stimulate. They're going to want to get rates lower. This repeating pattern of the TLT going lower before the Feds are done raising rate hikes says what? Version of the yield, all the stuff that's going on says economy's slowing. Recession, inbound, in my opinion. Again, you put all these things together, there's never been a case where you didn't see a recession based on everything that's happened. I think anytime this time is different, well, again, if you want to bet it, the bull market continues on without a VIX touch of at least 48.50 area, go right ahead. Be my guest. Now, again, does that mean the markets have to dump now? That's the hardest part, right? Hence, you got to be level to level, be prepared to stop out if you're wrong, and always have in the back of your mind that what? The market can be very irrational at times. Like at the lows, whatever the lows end up being, the market will probably price in much worse. And just like at the highs, it prices in what? Too much good, like in the sense of like the ultimate goodness. NVIDIA. Oh, hey, Cat. So keep an eye on that. Yeah, Jamie Dimon warns on banking crisis in annual letter. Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised Jamie talked about that because I think one of the things that Jamie has tried to, play the game is both sides of it. It's a good point because I've seen him say, well, it's going to be a lighter recession, everything's going to be fine. Stocks could go 20% higher. Seen them say banking crisis. Today's interesting. That headline revolves around today. But let's just dig into the charts, because that's what we do, right? Like, that's the goal here, to be evidence-based, not sit here and go, I think the market's going to the moon. Okay. What is this candle? Can anyone name it? The name is right there. That's called outside reversal candle. We need this to close at worst very similar, or boom, eat it all up. Remember, the door is never wide enough when it's time to sell. Keep an eye on it. And again, I tried to warn people, and I'm like, gee, please check the weeklies, the monthlies. I'll just do the monthly real quick on this SPY. I posted this on Twitter earlier. I don't think there's much upside here. QQQ, right? This thing has been on fire, which, again, irrational as it is, hits the 20-month, curling down 20-month. Remember we talked about in 2021, this time, that the 20-month was crucial once it broke, because it had been the trend holder, friend of the trend for a long, long, long decade. Now here it is, acting as resistance, turning down, backside of a trend line. Did we see it going the 320? I didn't. But again, that's just the nature of it. Because again, looking at the Fed Day action and knowing what's going on, interpreting from everything that I'm seeing, pretty hard. Pretty hard to anticipate higher highs, continue to rip higher. Now we know the market climbs the wall of worry. That's the hard part here. But now that the sentiment has gotten back to bullish, people don't expect anything wrong to happen. Today's action is signifying something. Like gold. Keep an eye on this, right? Out of nowhere, gold just boom, breaks out. Now, do we trust it? That's on you. We're filling the gap from Ukraine. We're close enough. We're getting there. As I've always told people, I've always been a bull, long term, right? Like, if you don't hold metals and haven't been holding metals, well, where the hell have you been? Because we've been recommending that for what seems like forever. Because we knew one day, there will be a day when all of this ends and inflation goes nuts. Well, are we there yet? No, I think this is what is the hard part, is I think we're in this pocket where metals could go higher. I'd prefer them to pretend breakout, backfire. Remember, they sell everything. Baby goes out with the bathwater. Liquidations, hedge fund redemptions, mutual funds, ending positions, people literally just pension funds selling. Do they own gold? Yeah. Will they liquidate if it's acting good? Is it rational? No. But keep an eye on it. Again, silver, same thing. I mean, both these names just went. I'm like, okay. Silver, is this breaking out? This is what's so hard, because if you follow, where is the monthly again? I apologize, not the weekly. I had that queued up. Silver, like here's COVID, kapow, right? Here is in 2008, right? Kapow. Early 2008. Remember, not near the bottom in March 2009. But you still even had this pullback here from 19 down to 14, 25%. 25% takes you back down here, hopefully in the 17, 16 range. Now, do we know for a fact? No, we don't know anything. This is all speculative, probability based. Do you chase it here? Again, we broke the monthly trend line. Could we just come back and W? That's what would be crucial. Like, that would be the endless buying opportunity, in my opinion, with the best risk reward. But if it goes higher, great. Hopefully you have physical. Because, again, it's harder to trade. We've talked about this. There's a reason why you own physical into credit crises, inflation, government's gone wild, right? Like, the goal is to hedge your savings, essentially, right? If you want to trade it, go right ahead. I've been wrong. I'm not going to trade it because I look at the market downside as more appealing than the metals upside, because this is the thing I'm looking at and keep an eye. Like we talked, I posted this on Twitter, talking on the Discord. Like, look at like something like Caterpillar today, right? Like shorting tech. Like, think about like how much room there is to the downside. Look at this. This is a left-right combo with extra cheese. I mean, look at that. Green bar, doji, ka-doosh. Said, watch Nucor. So I was like, something's not right with Nucor this morning. Said, watch it. Kapow. Said, watch the IYT, right? What was going on with the transports? I was like, man, if we break this 224 level, look out below. Transports, okay. Financials. right? XLF. We talked about it, getting up to the 20-day, chopping around. All right, well, now you're eating back the last 4 days of gains. Something doesn't look good, right? Right? XBI, we've talked about this one. This thing has just been totally lagging. It should be up here with tech, engulfing, yum, nom, 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 eating its way lower. Well, now this is what's hard, right, is like tech. Like everyone's looking at tech and going, well, it's holding up. Okay. Well, notice something about the semiconductors the last couple days. And no one's talking about this. They're not making new highs, confirming the Qs. Right? Something's off here. Now you have like a multiple, like 4-day range, 259. I mean, we're literally there. If this goes, it's going to open the dough for Mo. Now there's a lot of other tech that's blowing off. And if you've never seen blow off action in straight line moves, like think of like Tesla from 2021, straight line, just it doesn't make sense. Think of like Nvidia now. It doesn't make sense. And this is why people are getting frustrated, and I get it. Trust me, I get it. I've been on the other side of this. But if you know that you're in the nosebleed section, or you literally have bottle rocketed straight up on rocket jet propulsion from retail and the market makers trapping people, you know at some point the other side is the mountain back. Like velocity begets velocity. So you got to be careful. But you also have to know like what comes next. Right? It's not high flying endlessly. It's kapow and Kelly Kapowski. So look at the dollar. Keep an eye on this one because I'm watching this, right? Dollar back at like the range lows. This trend, like it's interesting how it's like, man, I wonder if it'll get down here. It's making new lows. So again, you got to respect the new lows. But would this be a higher low if it held the support area? Right? Let me see if you can see if it's on the monthly or not. No, it's on the monthly, but it's on the weekly. That's for shizzle. This area, the massive trend line from the past. I know it's violated it here, and sometimes, but look, we're at it. We're retesting it. Now, again, I could put the box around it and see what happens, but keep an eye on it. The VIX. Wow, it's like Dan said, if you get into the 18s, it's a gift to buy puts. Anyone else impressed that they just worked this volatility into the freaking ground? Like literally buried the VIX to the effing dirt. Anyone expect that? Not I. Not I. I did not expect that. Well, guess what? That's just reality. Sometimes you can't predict anything and everything with certainty. You know, that's the thing we warn people. It's like, hey, you're living in this mindset that you're always going to be right. It doesn't work like that. Yeah, MM's done an awesome job. Give those guys a golf clap. Because this feels very much like August all over again, which is crazy. Because if you guys remember August, there were certain people in the Discord room losing their cookies, going nuts. They were like, dude, the bull market is just starting. You idiot. You idiot. We thought it would be here, and then it ultimately went to the trend. On a novice gap, trap, professional gap, game over. Now what? Now again, that same sentiment with lower highs. Interesting. Now I know people say, well, the liquidity and everything that's going on. All right, the Feds, again, that's their only ploy is to try to throw liquidity at the banking crisis. But the problem is they're not stopping people from pulling their deposits and looking for what? Fixed income. That demand is crazy. I was just talking to a rep at Wells Fargo, you know, for my dad who's got money there. And I was like, we got to get money out of here. Your savings and checking account rates are absolute crap. Sorry, we're leaving. And they're like, oh, no, don't just leave yet. We're going to raise our rates to 3.75 here in a couple of weeks. Okay, what are you waiting for? Well, interesting. Think about it. The big money centers. They're still offering nothing. So we'll see what happens with the XLF. Now, where do people take their money? That's the thing. I mean, I still believe that it makes sense for the Feds to grab liquidity to stabilize the dollar and bonds. They need the market to drop. They need that money to come in. They need to try to create that, hey, we are the dollar, we are the United States federal government with the biggest, strongest military in the world, blah, 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 blah. Park your money here. It's always safe. Do you not think they want to try to continue that trend? That's kind of what's hard to know for sure. It seems logical that they would. What's up, Zeph? Anyone have any thoughts, questions, concerns? Because that's kind of what I was looking at. Like materials, look at AA. Jeez. Letter X. Even good old Arrow. Like these are not candles preceding good things. Like look at oil. Pop makes a higher high. And again, this is what I've warned people, throwing the baby out the bathwater. Oh, are you bearish oil? No, I wouldn't recommend shorting it. But I'm not surprised if what? It fails. Because if the recession's growing, oil demand should do what? Decrease. Why do you think OPEC's over here trying to cut? Now, are they trying to put the U.S. government refilling the SPR in a pickle? Probably. I mean, let's not argue that. But ultimately, they see what? I mean, I've heard this. Again, I can't verify these rumors, but I've heard there's huge diesel and fuel gluts in Asia and Europe. Could be wrong, could be right. I don't know. But them cutting tells me, again, if they were really worried about the U.S. refilling the SPR and they thought prices were going higher, why would they cut supply? Like, you have to ask yourself that question. It's the same thing as like when the Feds cut rates. Everybody thinks the market's going to rip higher. Well, it's like, well, no. Now they're literally admitting, oh, crap, recession. Well, is that the same thing that's happening in oil? We'll see. Time will tell. Nat gas. Got a lot of questions about this one, and Sam joking on his name, not Sam. I know who you are, but hey, I like natural gas, but I'm going to wait for people to stop asking you. I get it. I think you're in the bottoming ranges, but it just could be a nothing trade. Could be wrong. Could be right again. It has a history of what? Chopping around. You're getting into the spring. Hopefully people won't be using as much power near term. Again, is that priced in? Well, it's so tough to know. Anyway, I mean, I could rip through some of the tech names, but they're just holding up, they're flatlining. Some of the bigger ones. And what's Microsoft up? Yeah, up a buck. Fills that 290 gap, as Jay Solstice said. It's turnaround Tuesday. That's my guess. President Biden to discuss risks and opportunities of AI with science tech advisors today. That should be interesting. I mean, I use ChatGPT for a lot of stuff. I don't know how to update my website. I go, ChatGPT, how do I add my Google real estate reviews to it? Dink, tells me exactly the prompts, what I need to do. I think it's great. But I think it's just another tool that everyone uses. And Baird, Microsoft Bing, I mean, it's all competition. Is it going to be like lumped in more powerfully into some software suites? Probably. But 99.9% of the people out there will just use it as another assistant. Remember, what was that? Ask Jeeves. Remember that? Ask Jeeves. Remember that website? Like AI has always been around, y'all. So again, that whole pump just seems like another fad. 3D printer stocks, Bitcoin mining companies. I mean, SPACs, all the same crap. The tech is always the future, but does the valuation get higher or lower with higher inflation? That's the question. Well, the rates are going lower. Well, that usually means a recession. Well, what happens to tech? Because BAMP talked about this yesterday. What happens? Very clear, right? Tech continues to improve, but if they're sitting on inventory, they got issues. They got to just undercut each other and sell it because the next generation of their product is significantly superior than their current generation. And that process just continues. And so if you've never studied the SMH cycles, and again, maybe you can see it better through Intel. Let me pull this up real quick. On the monthly. I guess you can't really see. Here's the 90s. All right, man, this thing peaked in 2000. Kapah. I mean, you can see it with SMH. You know how we talk about how, like, at bull market peaks, those never-ending, like, ETFs that leverage or represent such come out? Well, here it was at the SMH at the highs. Oops. That's what semis do. What does Biden know? I bet Biden knows where the good ice cream shops are, wherever he's at. He's like dialed in. He's like ice cream champion. Soon as you buy a new computer, a newer model comes out the next week. Always. That's how tech works. That is how tech works. To think that the SMH is going to make new highs, Feels like a bull trap. Feels like the bull trap of traps. Meaning what? The bigger the bull trap, the bigger the what that follows. Starts with a D, ends with down. Down. Get down again. So, all right. Just kind of hanging out. If you got any questions, thoughts, concerns, please chime in. If not, I'll wrap this up. Yeah, I mean, I was watching Caterpillar. I'm like, good God. Oh, so badly wanted to touch the hiney. Adam Sandler. Want to touch the hiney. Wanted to short the kitty. Want to short the kitty. Missed that one. Should have gotten in this yesterday, but I mean, I'm like overloaded short in tech right now. And it's coming out of my eyeballs. And I have to be patient. So far, feeling slightly better, but you know how it is. Days of action doesn't guarantee anything. Let's see what happens. Let's let more candles paint. Let's blow on the candle. Red ones like fire, and they like oxygen. Keeping an eye on the what? The fruit? Absolutely. Outside reversal, trend line highs, back. Feeling... It's amazing to think that this thing got this high, but okay. I mean, they're literally going to announce bad news, but is it priced in? We'll see. Your favorite, what? I mean, which one? Google, Meta? I mean, Meta, again. I'm telling you guys, Instagram, and it's crazy because now even when I start posting on Instagram, they stopped letting me do long-form video, which is weird. They stopped paying content creators. What does that do to the folks who create content and want to get paid? Do you think that wants to incentivize them to post on their their social media platform? No. Well, now you have people complaining about Facebook and Meta have way too much crap in their feeds. Okay. I mean, it's a bad. What do I think of ENVX, a battery company out of California? Well, you started getting me worried when I read out of California. So that probably means the company's business is going to be tax hampered and struggle with the local governments. I think a battery company, it's not said this many times within the commodity space, I believe at the bare bottom, all commodity related stuff should do well. If it's a penny stock, I'm gonna laugh. Sorry, I typed it wrong. ENVX. Never heard of these guys, so I'll take a look. All right, $13 stock. You're coming into La Resistance. You're in the resistance. It looks good over the 200 day, but is this a trap? Again, is this a heavily bought retail stock twits name? That's the question here. Or is this a name that nobody's talking about and it's just sneaking out? That would be my question. Again, I've never heard of it, so that's could be good. Again, because remember, when the market makers want something to rise, they don't want to advertise and pump it until when? The highs. That's all I can say on that. I'd have to look deeper into the financials on this one. But, yeah, a bull trap for a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, check out the weekly because this is interesting because this stock hasn't been around too long. You got to love when there's a capitulation, a base, and follow up. Now, can this be short term? Exit liquidity, potentially. I mean, it seems logical. And this is the thing. I love stocks that hold above their IPO price. That, to me, is always very important. Now, can it go below it temporarily? Clearly. But, man, if you see this in the 10 handle, again, I know nothing about the company. Just strictly by looking at the charts and repeating patterns and knowing how the market makers like to play games. Oh, shit. Yeah, it might be near-term top-ish. And remember, they throw the baby out with the bathwater. I say that saying a lot because it is very obvious. Because nothing is safe. Now, again, someone will be like, well, this one stock was up. Or this. Okay, the odds of something being safe when they're liquidating, mass liquidating everything it's hard to hold. A guy named Roger CEO founded ENPH Brain Stuff and started this company. Okay, cool. Let me put this on my other watch list, and I'll look into it deeper at another moment. It's, again, usually when I'm digging into these things, trying to see like what kind of capital they got, you know, the management. Do you trust them? You know, what is their share structure like? How much debt they have? How much cash is sitting in the books? I mean, all these things make a difference. You know, I prefer lower float potential, right? What's it got? 10 million shares, so that's not bad at all. All right, cool. I'll keep it on the radar. Yeah. No, this is the thing about trading, is like I can only follow and know so many stocks so well. And it's like if you know a little bit about everything, you really don't know anything, right? Like that's kind of the saying, you can't be the master of everything. So it's interesting. That's interesting. Let me see if I can plop this chart. This is what I love about e-signals. I hit duplicate on all charts. Ding, 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 ding. There it is. And it shows up on the daily, 10-minute, whatever, any chart. So good question. Appreciate the feedback. Is anyone looking for a lower, less volatile share short Walmart? All right, ready? Let me take a look at that one for you. Walmart. This is the thing about Walmart, and you have to be very cognizant of it, is that for many years, it was always assumed. Open up a plant in Malaysia. Okay, that's good. They need to get out of California. And again, McDonald's acting the same way. Ready, set, sell. These companies are typically known to do what? Okay during recessions. When people need to cut back and spend less, they go to McDonald's. They go to Walmart. So it's like there's this mantra mindset of recession, these things are safety, right? Well, when you pull up Walmart, I can see what you're seeing, right? Here's this like start of this gap, and they hear all these little tippy taps. So yeah, I mean, reference wise, makes sense. Now, would I want to short Walmart compared to, say, tech? This is where it's like, you know, they say don't put all your eggs in one basket, but this is where I'd say put all your eggs in one basket. Because again, if you think tech has the most downside, then it's just like, forget about it, you know, in the sense of going long short anything else. Now, if you want to diversify, I mean, you can pick the ETFs, right, within tech sector. What's that FANG ETF? That makes sense, but it's a good question. It's just retesting exactly the gap. Now, how fast could it drop? Maybe it does dump. I mean, I do know that these Walmart stores, like in certain parts of the country, not naming them by name, meaning very left-leaning, leaning cities, like Targets, Walmarts, Walgreens, these stores are just endlessly raided and ripped off constantly. Is that priced in? I don't know. Will it get worse if the economy slows and people get more desperate with inflation and entrenching? And then when I say entrenching, just meaning wages not rising to keep up for the prices that are moving up in goods, services. We'll see. So, good question. See if anyone else has anything else. Main chat, anything else going on? Come close, check on it later. Yeah. If stocks are long bias, is it baby of the bathwater? If stocks are... I don't know what that means, man. Try saying that again, T-Van. If stocks are in a long bias, is it a baby with the bathwater? That's still a possibility. I'll try to interpret that the best way as I can. Is that stocks are the bathwater. The good stocks, the metals, oil, nat gas, your favorite material names, those are the names that I consider the baby. But the Fed's got it. I mean, the Feds are such a pickle here. They have to get commodities in the market to puke at some point. The stocks go down slow. No, the stocks typically go down fast, especially the leaders, old leaders, right? Think about if you've never studied bear to bull market transitions, in the transition from a bull market to a bear market to the next bull market, leadership changes. It used to be the IBMs, the GEs, the Xeroxes. Then it's like certain tech names. It was the Microsofts, the Intels, the Ciscos. Then the commodity bubble up. It was like the Transoceans. It was, obviously the oil service names, the coal names, the ag names. And then tech woke up and that bottomed. And now we're at the end of a tech bull cycle. So think of like the names that I think should fall the most because they have the most liquidity. The Nvidias, the Microsofts, the Apples, the semiconductors, the Meta, the Guggenheim, the Amazonians, the Tesla, the Netflix, Microsoft, I mentioned that. So that whole sector, like the mega tech, like that, think of like the market, take the name out of it and just think about liquidity. Like where is the, like look at, and you have to look at market cap, right? Not stock price. But think about like the market caps, valuations on some of these names. Hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars of liquidity. Well, when that goes somewhere else and it comes out, it's going to go to new stuff. Now, people will argue, well, the fundamentals might not slow down as quick as like the price of the stock goes down, but then people don't remember exactly. Like if you watched CNBC from 2003 to 2007, there was a running joke. People would recommend Microsoft, and they were like, "They're doing really well, guys. Excel is still very important. People are still using their products. Microsoft, we feel, is undervalued." They're arguing all of your classic, hot keywords for CNBC. Oh, let me go back further. Sorry. I can maybe zoom it out too. I mean, after the bottom, 2002, 2003, I mean, the stock went nowhere. 28, 21, just and every day they'd recommend it on CNBC. It's like, hey, growth is sustainable, whatever, 20x earnings, blah 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 blah, trading at all of your favorite highlighted key things they say on CNBC for fundamentals, and it went nowhere. Well, what happens once momentum is lost, right? Like that's what people don't understand. Momentum is hard to regain and usually comes after another cycle. Now, could I be wrong and Microsoft hold up? I mean, personally, I look at it and I go, holy crap. Like it's, what else? I mean, everything is priced to perfection. When you go from $16 up to $350, you have to think about like the law of large numbers, right? Economies of scale. Like they can't really afford much more economies of scale. Law of large numbers, like you can only grow so much, right? But at a certain point, like that momentum, people start realizing, what am I buying? I'm buying future earnings that can only what? Decelerate or stabilize or what? Non-existent. So why would it trade for a premium? And that's why I always laugh about like VALE, Letter X, some of these commodity companies. I mean, they've traded at low single digits, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 PEs. I don't know what Microsoft PE is, but let me take a look. I imagine I can pull that up on my phone in 3 seconds. But give me 2 seconds. PE of 30. I mean, think about that. 30. There's a lot of room down. I just wonder if the ML will let the downside go slow so that most of the premium gets burned. It's always possible. Yeah, I mean, that's always possible. But think about the trap at the top, usually. But speed begets speed. Velocity begets velocity. So think of the names that like ran up the hardest. They probably aren't going to fall slow. That's how I would think about it. That's how I think, like the Nvidia. Like when they pull the plug and everyone starts bailing for the exits, I mean, is Nvidia not going to drop 10, 15, 20 points like it did previously? When it went running to the moon up to whatever 3 something, whatever 3, what was the high on that one? 340s? I mean, it could look straight line move. I mean, it was there in October, right back down in January, 4 months later. I mean, once the trend starts, this is the key here, right? Like if you've got stock, awesome, patience. If you got options, then you trade around it. It's no different than we talked about like the XLF trade. Shorted up at the highs, took off profit, rolled out options to what? Time and different strikes. Now, if your options have been murdered and be from holding on to these names as they went higher because you didn't define your stop loss, that happens. Well, if you have any capital left at some point, your goal is going to be what? To put them in the options that give you the time and the best reward. Sitting in them now, you're hoping to get even, which, again, getting even might be very difficult if you have the wrong strike price and time-wise. That's the problem with options, timing. You put now time constraints on when, where, how. Be careful. Any other questions? I traded Walmart a bunch past year. I have a chart all memed up. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Sabby, that gap fill for Walmart's interesting from May. WWE on track. Really? Let me check that out. I mean, they're getting bought out. People are chasing it. I mean, it's still got a couple more points, hundo. But, I mean, if... Again, as somebody who doesn't follow MMA, fighting, all that kind of stuff, why they would buy WWE for a premium doesn't make sense. I honestly thought they were lowballing the out of them intentionally to try to get it for cheap. We'll see. Your guess is good as mine on that one. That's interesting. Again, but it seems like they will get bought out. It's just a matter of what price, right? Somewhere around 82, maybe not. Maybe 100. Who knows? Again, if I was it Damon White? No, not Damon White. Whatever. Mr. White for the... What is it? God, I can't remember all that stuff. I don't pay attention to that stuff. But MMA stuff, I would not overpay for WWE. And you can create your own WWE. AMC. Yeah, you know, I'm not surprised this thing is gapping down. People who trade... Again, I always laugh. I guess laugh is not the word. I always cringe when people are like, all I do is trade meme stocks, and my goal is to, like, really maximize my understanding and trading of these meme stocks. And what I'm trying to explain to people is, like, you're trading something on its way to the grave. So good luck learning that, but it's not really going to be applied to the next generation of stocks because nobody's buying this crap. GameStop, I mean, people are like, oh, it's going to be up in the hundreds. I'm like, okay, well, if GameStop goes to 100, there's probably we might have hyperinflation, and every other stock is going absolute bonkers. But trade a sector that's going to learn a sector that's going to be around. SLB gained most almost 4 years. Not back of it. It's an oil stock. Yeah, Slumberger, however you want to call it. Know this one very well. Yeah, these names gapped up. That's not bullish, right? We talked about like oil leading up, scaring the feds, but then eventually what? The market's going to try to discount ahead, like future. We talked about again the XOP, right? XOP is the smaller oil and gas trust exploration names. Gaps up to the old trend line, eating yesterday's gains. We'll see. I mean, I've been paying attention to all the oil names because, again, I think the baby out with the bathwater. The oil names, again, because this whole green movement stuff, everybody wants to be green, but you don't just go, let's cut off oil and figure it out. No, you have to transition. And so, I mean, the Saudis, the Chinese, everybody knows. Again, we're never going to run out of oil. That story is bullshit. Sorry, excuse me, my language. Anybody who knows anything about oil knows it's the second most abundant liquid on the planet other than water. It's under the ground everywhere. It's just how hard it is to find. But do we need to burn it all to survive? Probably not. We can transition, but electricity has to be generated from something. Again, I hate this whole rant because it gets people very polarized. But my point being is like, yeah, you're not dropping oil to go to green. That's why I laugh when people are like, Buffett's an idiot. He's buying Occidental. I'm like, no, Occidental used to be a company that paid monster dividends. Huge dividends if you traded it back in the 2000s. He knows once the oil price sustains and they start cashing it out, cash cowing, he's going to get all of his money back and more dollars per share. I mean, they used to do $10, $15 special dividends or special dividends. Was it 10? Maybe like 8 to 10. Yeah. He knows. Again, I mean, I like, the stock structure. What is this? Yeah, I mean, it's 10 million shares a day. It's not super liquid or illiquid. Just right in his sweet spot. His 10 to 15, 20 million share stocks, like his railroads, his oil and gas names. He doesn't like high liquidity because like liquidity means like more shares, like toilet paper. That's why I always hate high liquidity share counts, right? Like they trade like toilet paper. They're just everywhere. They're not hard to get. There is a novelty to stocks. People don't realize that. Like, imagine how hard it is And especially when you get short squeezes, right, with low liquidity stocks. Like, they go to the moon way quicker. All right. Any thoughts, questions, concerns? I didn't even pull up Tesla today. How funny is that? 198. Game over, Candle. Gets back into the zone. Everybody and their mom on Twitter. 200 days coming on Friday. Lower lows. Google. Oh, man. They're all over AI. Okay. Well, they're not. That doesn't really look like it. We'll see what happens today, because that candle is starting to form the wiki. Roblox. I was watching this going, man, is this thing breaking out? Uh-oh. Raggy. Again, IYT. Like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, what is going on here? Market's about to break out. Spies making new highs, and the transports are just unloading. Red flag. Red alert. That's why, again, evidence-based. Outlook for yield volatility hits the highest since 2008 financial crisis. Good chart, Holly. Let's see if I can pull that in. No. Yeah. TLT. I mean, as we've talked about, like, again, if I'm the central bankers, am I worried about the stock market or our borrowing rates? I'm more worried about the borrowing rates, because they know high interest rates are crippling the economy. Well, what's the best way to get the rates lower? Get liquidity to buy bonds. Get liquidity to buy bonds. Said this over and over. Well, bonds will go higher and be bought if what? Recession grows. They can't get rid of inflation and have low rates. Do we all agree? Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too there. They had to raise rates. Remember, rate hikes are 9 month lagging, right? And they just jacked rates continuously. Boom, 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 boom. All right, well, you're going to see the pain in the future. And we talked about it. And now that you had the credit stuff starting to pick up because of bank runs, ooh, you'd put them in a monster pickle. Do they really want to backstop all deposits? I mean, there's going to be revolt, because a lot of people know, like, especially the people who have less than 250,000, be like, why am I backstopping Chinese, foreign investors, whatever you want to call them, or the rich? Why do we have to backstop their deposits? You're going to get a lot again. Oh, I feel like and I kind of joked about this. It's like, it feels like the eye of the hurricane kind of thing. Josh, have you ever heard of having issues? You're going to have to talk to Jay Solstice and the staff. They booted you out of the Discord room because you haven't been active. They asked you to be active multiple times, and if you get booted and then come back in and don't ever really get involved, they just banned you. So I commend you reaching out, but that was just the reason. I don't control the bans and the kickouts anymore. I've given my responsibilities to others and that's one thing we've asked is, again, you don't have to post every day, but be involved. In silence, again, if you want to be a silent follower, you can watch on YouTube, follow on Twitter. Again, I don't know what to say. I feel bad if you've taken that personal, and if you want back in, I applaud you for asking. I can fix that. But try to get involved. Ask questions. Again, I don't keep score of everybody's involvement. I let those who I've given that responsibility to and trust their judgment. Will somebody get banned or kicked out by accident? Potentially. It's bound to happen. It's bound to happen. No one's perfect. But, yeah, if you really want to get back in, let me check real quick. Just, like I said, all we ask is that you get involved. I don't Yeah, it's going to take me a couple minutes to figure out how to do that. Most people who get banned, I'm not really opening up the server back to. Let me see real quick. All right, any other questions, thoughts, concerns while I'm looking on that? Yeah, I don't know. That's going to take a minute. Josh, again, nothing personal. I gave that responsibility to others. They want people to be involved. I asked that people be involved too. There it is, bans. What was your username? Is it Thompson 1976? So you say you weren't aware, but they put a lot of at everyone comments. Thompson 1976. Again, they didn't do it just to blindside people. I know the folks who are issuing these bans and kicks have make sure to at everybody and reach out. So, all right, your ban should be unrevoked. Try that now. He's usually sends out multiple notices days ahead every month. It's kind of a sweeping process. Because also, too, what I found out is the people who don't talk and get involved are actually the ones, too, that get involved in the room and create, like, the spam and hit up people like, hey, you should buy some crypto. Or, hey, do you mind, being involved? You owe me $50. I don't even know what these fake posters create, but they somehow get in the room and then they individually DM folks asking them for money, crypto, whatever, pretending to be me. So that's another reason why we sweep out the people who don't get involved, because it's typically those are the folks that are the spam bots. Nothing personal. Just say a few things, get involved. You should be okay now. Let me know, Josh, if you can't get in. Yeah, cleans out once a month. Cleans out once a month. All right. It's been 45 minutes. Market's just kind of holding on. Turnaround Tuesday. Outside reversal coming. IWM lagging as usual. Oh! If you haven't seen the IWM, it just seems to be getting worse. Call that left-right. Combo with cheese. Not so good. Cool. You're back in, Josh. Again, that wasn't personal. I promise you. It was just procedural. Yeah, cool. NVIDIA. Yeah, and also, too, this is the thing. I control the roles. If somebody doesn't post, they don't get upgraded in roles. I notice who's asking questions, get involved. Yeah, and again, contributing just could be just a question. Be a question that, hey, I am struggling with this. Why is this? Maybe someone else is thinking the same thing. That's why I appreciate, like, a lot of people DM me, and I'm like, please don't ask me questions on the side that I think if you have no ego and are willing to be vulnerable, someone else is probably going to learn from the same thing. The current link in today's video is not expired. Again, I always put expired links in, or let them expire, because I have found that that's where the spam bots usually find them. And so I also, too, reward people for asking. Just like, Josh, if you want to be involved and you got kicked out and you're like, I want to get back in, you ask. Show a little initiative. Because, again, that's what I would do. If I really want to get back in, I'd be like, hey, D's nuts. I'd like to join your Discord peanut room. If you don't know what D's nuts are, that's for another time. Danny D's. NVIDIA. Man, on a day where everybody thought this thing would be ripping. It's interesting watching the semis, right? Because we've talked about them just endlessly going higher, going higher, going higher. Oh yeah, I did read some of the YouTube stuff, or someone else did too, and was like, something doesn't seem right with these posts. But again, it could be interpreted either way. I'm more for giving people opportunity if they try versus the bots that will never call up. They will never follow up. Intel, keep an eye on this. Again, just rambling here. Look at this. Hits the upside target, whatever zone, trend line. Oh, I'm glad you like the layout. I've been messing with it. I've been putting money into the website. Got a company that's going to help me. Again, I'm not trying to grow the channel. Just make it more user-friendly. Because, again, what's great about trading, like the Discord room, is that not everybody's going to use Discord, and not everybody's going to get on Discord and know how to use it. Like, my dad will never understand Discord. But I'd like him to follow on the website. They like email alerts. Damn, I would have done it for free. Done what? Done what for free? Help out with the website? No, it's all good. It's ranked.ai. I think they're, again, I'll probably use them for a month and then learn what they need. Yeah. I mean, it's more of just a little bit of cleaning up, getting somebody's personal review. I have a free trial. I'm meeting with them today to talk more about it. Backlinks, tag words, all that crap. once it's figured out, I probably won't need them anymore because I'm the type of person that figures this stuff out on my own. But Joe, DM me. We can talk at some point if you want to help out. I appreciate that stuff. It's again, you can't be in charge of everything all the time, right? Like a good business owner has to figure out how to delegate, right? You can't be the accountant. You can't be the, logistics guy. You can't be inventory manager. You can't be sales guy. You can't be the CEO. Can't be the finance officer. You can't do everything at all. This morning we're on the ropes. What did them do to have most demoralized what we're seeing now? Good question, Mel. Because I honestly don't know what happened at 10:15. I tried to look that up and was curious, like what set everything off. Because I posted that. Hopefully you saw that. I posted that on Twitter. I was like, I time stamped it. Here, I'll show you. I was like, something stinky. Something was fishy here. Something is off about the markets. Inflection point upon us. Gold ripped. Oil popped and flopped. Financials popped and flopped. The IYT started breaking. Some of these major material names started breaking. TLT started popping. Dollar went pretty wild. VIX started picking up. I mean, remember, it is turnaround Tuesday potential, and the first and last 3 business days of the month are usually topish, bottomish, right? Because you're going to have extreme movements within the market liquidity, right? In and out. The Fed, this change too, the JOLTS number at 10 o'clock definitely was pointing to less job openings, 1 million less. Again, could it be a culmination? And this is what I was joking with. It's like algos fighting algos, like, everybody's algo jumping on top of each other and trying to execute. And something, if you guys remember long-term capital management in 1998 was, one of the supposedly smartest, brightest algorithms that was, managing market risk. And they had, what was it, Stanford or MIT scientists and mathematicians creating algorithms that were destroying the market. And then it's like all of a sudden, like, kapow! They went out of business like overnight. Who knows? I mean, that's the thing. That's where, we talk about this. Like, how do you know you're at a bottom or a top, right? Like, usually you get the blow-offs both ways. But how extreme, you don't really know. And to me, this feels very extremish. Because, again, like, if you look at the market as a whole, we talked about this, the market's being led by, like, 8 to 10 names. The whole market's not confirming a breakout. IWM tried to normalize yesterday, or, like, try to, like, act like, hey, it's going to catch up. Getting over the 20-day, I guess say Friday, kapow, giving it all back. Right? Like oil up at some point, not good for the Feds either, but keep an eye on it, right? Like popping and flopping, that would be interesting. Because again, I think people don't realize like the recession is coming. The recession is coming. It's the most advertised recession in history, essentially, right? Because again, they've created bubbles. They've had to raise interest rates. I mean, this is every iteration has to be the most advertised recession rate in history, correct? Like, wouldn't that make sense? The ones from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, there's always going to be more publication and more news involved, right? So this is the thing. So the trickiness is the trickiness, right? Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? I appreciate you guys asking questions. I mean, any question is a good question. If I make jokes or tease or whatever, please never take it personal. I shouldn't. I mean, I don't even know. I shouldn't even probably talk about this stuff, but if you think about anything related to even like your own marital status or relationships, it's easy at times to say things that can be misconstrued. And so assuming the worst doesn't really help anybody out, right? Overreacting, right? You say something to your wife, or she says something to your boyfriend. Again, I don't even want to say those things. People, I'm married to a tree. If you say things and then you react just as badly to their reaction, it doesn't help. So again, I've always been very cognizant of my emotions, as you should be with trading, because they will at times lead you astray if you let them control you. Because right now, and this is where being evidence-based is really important, to not just puke up shorts at the highs. correct? We not all agree? Like, the evidence is starting to paint. Now, did they trap us? I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I wasn't trapped. No. Dude, they made new highs over the Fed day highs as nothing got better. How hard is that? You know, you can stop out. You have to. Or, as I did, like, I just went huge in certain things. Was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to margin. I'm going to leverage it, and if I have to stop out, I stop out. Because I don't believe that the continuation is coming. Because remember, we covered a lot of shorts down with the banking headlines and was like, whoop, Fed day, cool. Well, look what you did. Went a little higher. Some people say, well, you missed. You were early. Yeah. Again, I have options problems. Yeah. I got some options that'll probably just get back to even, hopefully, at some point. I have to roll them out, roll into it. It happens. I'm not perfect. But the stock stuff, I feel very comfortable with defining the risk and leveraging as needed. Again, you know, tech. People are like, you can't short tech. The more that I hear you can't short tech, reminds me of many other similar situations where you said you couldn't short it or you can't buy this at the low. Remember gold? I can't buy gold in October. Like, dude, I don't even... I mean, we laughed about this as we look back on it. Gold is such trash. It is just such trash. I'm like, but the action is saying it's the trap. All right. Look what happens. Now, again, time has to pass because usually it flips. And when it flips, it can start slow, then go. Yeah, I always go mostly stocks. I always tell people this. Like, the goal, my options account is only going to always be 10% of my total potential portfolio. I will never go 100% options because I've done that and I've lost my ass, potentially, in the past. So if I know that my options account gets hit 50%, well, that's a 5% loss of my portfolio. It's not the end of the world. I mean, I can make 5% on my SQQ or SOXS in a day, or shit, in an hour. You can refund that thing if needed. That's the problem with options, and you have to be very careful with. If you are all or nothing with options, you're all good or you're all in trouble if you're wrong. That's the hardest part. I've warned folks that endlessly. Options are great when they're working, when they're not. And this is the thing, it's hard to know. Like, especially like if it's like March and you're like, I got 5 weeks. That hurts. No one's going to argue that. That hurts. Where are we at? Just chopping, holding ranges. Little lunchtime lull. AMD getting close to the low of the day. Good to see. Oh, Taiwan Semi. Man, that thing was up at 93 at a second. Nope, coming right back. Micron. Where is Drew? Because he's all over Micron. And then the last couple of days was just being annoying a lot of people in the Discord room. Like, oh, the market can only go higher. And it's like, dude, you literally pointed out the tell for the semis and tech to peak. Micron's earnings were crap. And then it rallied up. And then on that China stuff, whatever. Gone. Liquidity, exited, bring it back down. Liquidity, exit, bring it right back down. We break the 20-day. Adios. Give yourself credit, Drew. Again, timing. Don't go crazy. Don't let shit drive you nuts because the action doesn't confirm immediately all the time. Does this make sense? Because again, if you think trading is always going to be, I'm in, it's going to happen right now, time to go party. No, that's what we talk about, managing your positions at the highs. That's what we talk about, being thoughtful that something doesn't have to necessarily drop right away. Yeah, married to a tree. I don't know, some people have their own little lifestyles. CRM's interesting. It's almost an hour. I'll about wrap it up here. So we talked about that on the monthly and the weekly. So here on the monthly, you got the 20-month rolling down, the 50-month. You have resistance here. All right, you've got like inflection points. Check that out. It makes sense to me. And then you got the weekly, the 200 week. Again, you can see that range here. I mean, you go from 120 up to 200. Is it going to pull back first? Probably. A lot of us were close to stopping out near the pain threshold. Patience paying off. Wisdom was saying we needed to be ready to close down, and that was a painful scene. Yeah, I mean, again, stopping out is really hard and frustrating, essentially, if you are married to the position. But this is what gets so tricky about the markets at times, especially during the last 3 business days of the month. OPEX, right? Like, we talk about the trickiness of the market during these times because what? Liquidity is moving around. Heavy amounts, large amounts of liquidity give the market makers the ability to do what? Like, they want to mark things up, or they want to mark things down, or they're trying to unload into, or they need to mark it up to unload into, or mark it down to buy extremes, right? Like, think of, let's just pull up the SPY and like look at some of those inflection points, right? I'm pretty sure that was an OPEX, if I remember correct. Here you go, end of December, chopping. Who remembers this in October? The OPEX, like you have the bottom, and you have this retest. I mean, could you have another top retest? I don't know. OPEX. There's an OPEX, top X. Another OPEX, bottom X. Where's the March one? Here's the end of the quarter. Top, right? New year, new top. Right? End of the month. Kind of. No, this was sloppy. That's big action. What date was that? Okay, end of the month, chop, pop. You see these repeating tendencies, right? Now you go look at now. You go, all right, it's just this a lower high retest. Like, is this the big shoulder? Because everyone's calling Head and Shoulders bottom on the SPY. It's like, man, you got to be crazy to think the market's bottom with everything that's going on and to come. Like, you have a lot of faith that the Feds have navigated soft landings. If you believe the Feds have navigated a soft landing, raise your hand. Because you'll find out if you study, they have never navigated a soft landing. They don't know how to. They can't. They create bubbles that they have to burst. And if they don't burst bubbles, who knows? I mean, that's why there's always the hard landing. Like, that's the question here is like, is this time not? Okay. I would think at some point they want to bring money back into treasuries. They need to pull more liquidity from, again, they need the risk off. They need money in the dollar, right? They need money into the bonds. At some point that goes into commodities. Like, they cannot go risk on always, because that's what, it's like a cancer, right? Never ending inflation. They have to kill it. You have to kill it. Put the bullet in its head. We have to destroy inflation now. Like, that's kind of what they have to do. That's why, like, you know, we talk about like CF, like a lot of these ag names, like coming into the 2003 bottom. I wonder if you can, like, just, it's 20 years ago. Man, I feel old. Think of the 2003, feels like it was only yesterday. Oh, yesterday. When did it? No, this is not when it IPO'd. What is this? 2005? No, CF. Changed name, that's right. Who was still around? Potash wasn't around. Mosaic. I'm like losing my cookies here. Right, Mosaic has been around. Let me get the monthlies up. Double check. I feel like they were, but okay, yeah, of course they're around. I'm like, man, you traded this one. It's like, what brain cells died? It's like, uh-oh. Yeah, here it was in 2002. When these things started. Again, if you go look at all the ag names, they bottomed when tech bottomed, but they weren't like, I don't know if seems cheap, but you guys didn't see like the price appreciation. But again, they eventually just kind of flatlined and they retest a bottom. And then look at the volume. Like, this is crazy how it came off the lows. Market makers all in. Ride that donkey higher. So you go look at now, right? Like, you know, it's kind of trending lower, but it's acting better than some of the rest parts of the market. But man, like, what would you give for a Klondike bar? No, like, either this is the double bottom chop, or it's going to have one more capitulation. That's what I expect. One more capitulation where it chops back. Maybe it back tests this trend line, say in May. Who knows when the main capitulation is going to be and the Feds have to like start cutting, because that's going to be, remember we talked about, take note of this, the material names will launch when the Feds pivot. The Feds haven't pivoted yet. Now I know people are starting to try to anticipate the pivot. That's why these things could hold up better. But if the VIX goes 50 plus, you will learn, baby, with the bathwater, what that means. Because you're going to see stuff and you go, whoa. And then I'm like, whoa, Mike Jones. No, like, whoa. You're going to be like, holy crap. That stock just dropped 10% at the open with it looks like no bottom in sight. Or 10% on some headline or some Fed reaction or something. And you'll go, well, this name's been holding up really well. People will come back into it. I am going to press the enter button to buy. All right, I'm going to let this roll. Wife is texting me. She's asking me a question. I just figure I will go say hi to her unless someone has a question. Again, not to neglect her, but if someone has any thoughts, questions, concerns that they're concerned about at the moment. Florida Democrat Chair Nikki Freids arrested. Groups backing for abortion. Yeah, I mean, I get so much news. Just be safe out there. Be evidence-based. Again, at some point, this is what's going to be crazy about, I think you're going to see with commodities, and you're probably already going to see it. Money rotates, right? Doesn't destroy. Does it go into bonds? Does it go into the dollar? Do commodities base first and tech just drag? Because that's what, if things repeat, the patterns repeat, the tendencies repeat, then the tech names that have all the liquidity become the ATM of the market. Meaning what? They're pulling the money out of these 100 billion plus trillion, not, I guess, Apple, $1 trillion companies. They are the liquidity for the next bull market. That's what people don't understand. Like, momentum begets momentum, that once momentum is lost, you don't want to own those names. And you've seen that with Roku or Shopify or some smaller other tech company. But once the momentum's lost, Peloton, that kind of stuff, I mean, they have to reimagine themselves. Because what worked was proven and probably ripped off, cut off, duplicated, and they don't really have a margin advantage anymore. Think of like the example earlier in the video, like with Microsoft. Like in 2000s, 2003, 2007, nowhere. Went from 21 to 29, 21 to 29, 21 to 29, ding, 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 back and forth, ping pong. Every day. CNBC. Valuations are good. Company has great growth for the long term, blah, 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 blah. Okay, momentum was gone. That's how you get, like, letter X, as I kept joking. Like, this is how you get the letter X move. You get the commodity moves, like spiking. Maybe if you don't remember. Again, like, these things have a long history. Do you not think in 2003, and here, this is basically how you can correlate it very clearly. Tech, bear market ends, right? Where did the money go? Commodities, right? Look at that, 2008. You can see the same thing with oil, right? I'll end it on that. Like, look, oil, same kind of crap. Where did all the liquidity go? Oh, this thing didn't, well, still. I guess you can see with the USO. Oil futures, same thing. Money came in. God, bad example. I remember the USO was the big short. But pick another commodity name, right? Doesn't matter. But then look at, again, we'll reference Microsoft. Because it wasn't like Microsoft went out of business. From 2003 to 2007, the liquidity was moving out, right? Just nowhere. Someone may say, oh, 20 to, I guess it got up to 36 in 2007. Okay, that's great. Then right back to new low lows. Momentum was lost, obviously. That's the point. Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember trading Microsoft because it was such a dead stock. But do you see the difference? Like, the names that we talked about, the materials that were catching the momentum, were catching the liquidity, were catching the flows, they acted like tech stocks have done now. They did this. Again, repeating patterns. It's all repeating patterns. Money rotates. Money rotates. All right. Holler at your boy if you got any questions. I appreciate it. Love support, donations, whatever it is. You just survive. I'm telling you, you got to survive. That's the key here. And timing. If you think you're going to nail the timing all the time and you're going to pick the bottoms and the tops, date-wise, you might be able to get pretty good at the levels. Then that's the key. It's just the timing. Because retest happens, velocity, traps, all sorts of fun stuff. Again, it's all in the back to basics. It's all there. It all hopefully should make sense. It's just witnessing it. That's why I always laugh at the folks who don't understand what's going on with tech, how narrowing of the leadership is just showing everyone's funneling into tech. Well, guess what? Once they realize it's not safe, velocity begets velocity. Talk to you later.